Hey everybody, I'm Matt Weafer, Executive Chef at the Campbell Club here in downtown Owensboro. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen. Today we're going to do a seared duck breast with a side of roasted Brussels sprouts, and we're going to make a fennel and Galliano sauce. Galliano is a liqueur. It's got a kind of anise fennel flavor. It's got a little bit of orange zest in it, and it goes really well with the actual fennel, and it pairs really well with the duck as well. It's got a really bright, kind of sweet flavor to it, and it's not going to take very much. You could, let's see, we're going to start off with a duck breast. This is a Canadian duck breast right here. It's a very fatty piece of meat. It's a little gamey, but that's why you pair it with something with a really strong flavor. What we're gonna do is we're gonna render out the fat in the skin to make the skin nice and crispy. I'm just making really small score in the skin right here on top, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna keep the skin from shrinking up too much during the cooking process. We're basically going to cook the skin low and slow and kind of treat it just like bacon. I'm starting with a cold pan, and I'm going to put the duck in there first and let it do its magic on the breast, and then we'll flip it over and finish it in the oven. Now, duck breast, you only have to cook it to about medium rare because it's not like chicken and other poultry in which you have to worry about salmonella, and it's so fatty and so meaty and full of flavor that it actually really benefits from only going to about medium rare. So flavor is definitely better in my opinion, and a lot juicier. So as you can see, this is a cold pan. We're using a carbon steel pan. It's really similar to a cast iron skillet, so it's got a natural non-stick quality to it. You could use a non-stick skillet if you want, because the pan itself isn't going to get super hot. It's going to go kind of, like I said, low and slow. Got it on about medium heat here, and what it's going to do is the fat is going to start to render out of the skin, and it's going to add to the pan, and the skin will get crispy as it sits in the pan. Now, the side item that we're going to do with this are pan-roasted Brussels sprouts. Got a hot pan here. That's some clarified butter. What I've done is I've got Brussels sprouts that we just cut the cores off, took out the outside leaves, and then cut them in half. They're going to cook pretty quickly. I'm going to add some regular white onion with it too. These do pop a whole lot. Best thing about these Brussels sprouts, we cook them on really high heat. They get a lot of caramelization to them. A lot of people don't like Brussels sprouts because they say they're bitter, or they say they're, just kind of funky. But if you start with fresh Brussels sprouts and you add a little bit of acid and a little bit of sugar to them, the flavor is just fantastic. So when you get those going, you're going to see right off the bat, we're already getting a lot of brown on the Brussels sprouts, and they've only been in there for a couple of seconds. And that brown is where the flavor and the sweetness is going to come from. While that is starting to make our sauce. What I have here is the fennel stalk. Most of the time you'll see fennel, or sometimes in the grocery store it's called anise. It's got the big bulb on the bottom. A lot of recipes just call for the bulb, but the stalk is edible as well. And it's got not quite as strong of a flavor as the fennel bulb. It's almost kind of like a cross between fennel and celery. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice it really thin. I'm going to saute these a little bit with some onion and garlic, and add orange and rosemary to it as well. These in here with my onion. As soon as my pan is hot enough, the pan doesn't need to be super hot. We're going about medium high here. Just want to get some caramelization on that as well. We'll let those go, and once they start to brown a little bit, then we're going to add the garlic and the rosemary to it. And then once the garlic is ready, then we'll add Galliano. And just like any high alcohol liquor or liqueur, it will flame up. So if you're nervous about that, turn the heat off first. But you do get a good benefit from flaming up the liquor like that, because it'll caramelize those sugars. See how dark that's already getting? That's going to be packed with flavor. And go ahead with salt and pepper. Let that keep going for just a few more minutes. As you can see with the duck, I didn't add any fat to this pan. I just put it straight in there, but as you can see, it's already pulling out a lot of the fat off the skin. The skin's already starting to brown a little bit. The reason you want to go about medium heat on this, medium to low heat, is because if it's too hot, it'll brown the outside of the skin without taking the fat out, and then it won't get crispy. It'll be kind of slimy, and nobody likes slimy food. So these are going. We're going to wait till they're translucent and brown just a little bit. I'm going to go back to my Brussels sprouts over here. I'm going to add some garlic. That's about a clove or about a teaspoonful. Just toss that in, let it go for about 30 seconds or so. That's just going to wake the garlic up, toast those sugars a little bit. And now we're going to add white wine. lemon juice and sugar. This is just white sugar. I'm only doing about a half teaspoon or so, and all the sugar is doing is balancing the acid. Brussels sprouts, in my opinion, need a good deal of acid to kind of pair with the flavor, and so we've got the acid from the wine and the acid from the lemon juice, and that sugar is just going to bring it down a notch to where it's not super astringent. Okay, this pan is starting to get hot, getting a little more color on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drain off some of this fat, because the less fat that is in the pan, the crispier the skin is going to get. There's enough fat in the skin that we don't need to add anything to it. So like I said, it's just like cooking bacon. You're not going to put anything in the pan to get the bacon crispy. It'll do it all on its own. We've got some color on our fennel and our onions. Add garlic and fresh chopped rosemary. This is going to flame up. Just a few seconds just to wake up the garlic and the rosemary. I can already smell it's really intense off the pan. And in with about a tablespoon or so of the Galliano. Since there's not a whole lot to that liquid, I'm going to add white wine as well. It's going to give us more acid and just more juice for the sauce. Take some sliced navel oranges, throw that in there. It's going to render some of the oils out of the skin, take the juice out of the actual meat of the fruit there, and it's going to add to the flavor of the sauce. I didn't add anything to thicken this. I'm going to let that reduce down, and then we'll finish it with just a little bit of butter. Okay, now I'm going to go back to our Brussels sprouts here. I'm going to add just a touch of chicken stock, just to give it a little bit more liquid, because most of it's evaporated. You can see all that brown in there. That's the caramelized sugar, the caramelized lemon juice, and white wine. That's all going to coat and glaze the Brussels sprouts, and it's going to be sweet, tangy, and delicious. We'll let that just sit there and rest for a few minutes. See our duck? It's coming along nicely. About, I'd say 3 or 4 more minutes in this pan here, and then I'm going to flip it over and finish it in the oven in about anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes in the oven, and that'll be done. Now, our sauce here, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. What I'm doing is I'm cooking the wine down by half. That's going to give the chicken stock and everything else time to infuse with all the flavor that's in there. I'm, of course, going to take the oranges out of the sauce before I serve it. See all those extra bubbles in there? That means the wine is cooked down and it's getting a little bit of natural viscosity just from the sugars. I'm going to add this is about a tablespoon of unsalted butter. Seems like a lot, but if you remember, there's not very much fat in this pan to begin with, and it's the sauce for the whole plate. It's just going to have a great mouthfeel, great rich flavor to it. Just let that sit there. I'm turning off the heat. I want to emulsify the butter into it, and that'll keep it from being a greasy sauce. It'll just kind of blend right in, give it the texture and the taste that we want without being, like I said, buttery and greasy. Okay, let those rest for a little bit. Our duck is pretty close. I'm going to give it, like I said, 2 or 3 more minutes in the pan, and then I'm going to finish it in the oven. When it comes out of the oven, I'm going to let it rest for about 10 minutes because I'm going to slice this ahead of time. That'll give it a minute for all the juices to reabsorb back into the meat. We'll be back in just a minute. And we're back. As you can see, our duck has come out of the oven. Nice and crispy skin here. It's cooked to about medium rare, and it has rested for a good 10 minutes. And what that has done is it's let the juices settle down inside and absorb back into the meat. So when I slice it, it'll stay nice and juicy instead of the juices running out all over the plate. So we're going to get our Brussels sprouts. Nice and caramelized and glazed with the sugar and the lemon and the wine. Okay. In our sauce, I have some toasted walnuts that I'm added to our sauce. That gives it just one more dimension of flavor and texture as well. And so we've already toasted these up, so they've just got a good flavor on it. Stir those around in there. I'm going to set this down here on the bottom of the plate. Anytime you cook anything with a crispy skin or crispy crust, you always want to put the sauce on the bottom of the plate, otherwise the sauce will soak right into the crust and take away that crispiness. Okay. Nice sharp knife. Okay. Right on top here. And lastly, we have the rest of the fennel stalk, the fronds. The fronds work as a great grassy garnish. I say grassy, but it's actually really good, refreshing flavor, kind of like parsley, but it has that just mild fennel background to it. Right on the top. Clean this up here. I'm going to finish it with just a touch of extra virgin olive oil. Fruity nuttiness of this olive oil just blends into this dish really well and enhances it one more level. There you go. That is our pan-roasted duck breast. That's on one of our specials for this week. Come down and try out our 2-month free membership and let me cook for you. Thanks for joining me on Hometown TV.